Welcome to the deep dive. You send us the sources, and, well, we dig into them for the most interesting bits.
That's what we do.
Today, we're looking at something quite unique. Transfer Books by Shiba Narayan Takshila Page.
Yeah, it's a fascinating read. And just to be clear, we're not talking about moving houses here.
Definitely not. This is about a different perspective on learning, especially, it seems, within schools. The author suggests it could be maybe a kind of shortcut to getting well-informed using their method.
Exactly. So our mission, if you will, for this deep dive is to unpack these core ideas, things like book-to-brain knowledge transfer and these brainpage books.
Brainpage books. Sounds intriguing.
It is. We're basically looking at a very structured approach to how knowledge from a book, supposedly gets lodged firmly in the brain.
Yeah.
Could make you think twice about textbooks.
Okay, let's dive into that core concept then. Book-to-brain knowledge transfer.
Yeah.
So the idea is it's direct, like page to brain.
That's the proposition, yeah, a direct pathway. And a big part of making that happen is this process called brain page making.
Brain page making. Okay.
And what facilitates this, according to the text, is something called an object transfer language. It's presented as this special way of processing information that helps create and secure these brain pages. Think of them as like mental organizers for knowledge.
Okay, so object transfer language creates brain pages. And this whole system is the foundation of what the author calls school learnography.
Correct. And the text specifically contrasts this with the more, traditional idea of a teacher verbally transferring knowledge to a student. This is about the book being the direct source.
Right. And the ultimate goal of all this structured learning and brain page creation.
It's pretty clearly stated, producing high-performing students.
High-performing students.
Okay.
And the text links this to a specific classroom setup, something about miniature schools.
Yes, exactly. The model proposes dividing a single classroom into 7 distinct miniature schools.
7 in one room.
That's the idea. It sounds like a way to personalize the knowledge transfer process and how each student develops their specific brain pages, tailoring the approach, essentially.
Interesting. Now, you mentioned the book is central. The text seems to really, elevate the book itself.
Oh, absolutely. Books are presented as this almost miraculous discovery, a fundamental achievement.
Created by father teachers is the term used.
Yes, father teachers. They're seen as the ones who've structured knowledge into chapters, into objects. So the book becomes this primary, reliable source.
Which leads to the idea that we need to develop brain learnography to learn how to learn from these books using their specific object language.
Precisely. It's about acquiring the skills to effectively use this transfer processing object language that's contained within the books.
Okay, so let's get into the tools themselves. The brain page books, you said they're different from regular textbooks.
Yes, specifically designed for this brain page development.
Okay.
And there are 5 main types mentioned for use in what's called a collaborative classroom.
5 types. Okay, let's take the first one. The spectrum book, also called the mother book.
That's right, the mother book. Its focus is on the definition spectrum of objects. This is positioned as, the first dimension of learnography.
The definition spectrum. So understanding all the possible meanings or facets of a concept.
Kind of, yeah. Think about understanding all aspects of what something is. The spectrum book apparently gathers object definitions from all subjects.
All subjects, wow.
Yes, and its purpose is to help the student build and modulate their brain page of definition spectrum. It's seen as absolutely foundational.
Got it. Foundational definitions. Then comes the matrix book, the father book. Sounds more active.
It is. This one deals with the querying matrix of tasks. Basically, exercises and questions.
Ah, the application state.
Exactly. It's a collection of questions from all subjects again, but arranged in a specific knowledge order. The goal here is to build up the brain page of querying skills.
Makes sense. Practice makes perfect, right?
Right. And interestingly, the text acknowledges that, facing questions can cause anxiety, those fear factors. So the Matrix book supposedly aims to activate the brain's insular system to help students retrieve answers more effectively, even under that potential stress.
Okay, activating brain systems. Interesting detail. What's next? Source books.
Source books. These are probably closest to what we might think of as traditional textbooks, as they contain the actual subject matter
But
chapters.
with a twist, I assume.
Yes, they're divided into 5 sections. Each section apparently represents a different dimension of knowledge transfer, going beyond just definitions and queries.
So different ways to interact with the material.
Seems like it. The text emphasizes their modular format, allowing students to apply these different knowledge transfer dimensions systematically.
Okay. Now the fourth one sounds very different. Zeid books, zeid pages, motor knowledge.
Yeah, this one's quite unique. Zeid books are described as notebooks. Students create Zeid pages in them.
And these zeid pages contain transformed motor knowledge. How does that work?
It seems to connect the physical act of writing to the learning process. The text mentions finger mapping and the brachial plexus.
The nerve network in the shoulder.
Exactly, suggesting a direct link between hand movements and embedding knowledge in the brain. Writing it down transforms it into a kind of motor skill, reinforcing memory.
So writing isn't just note-taking here. It's an active part of the knowledge transfer.
Apparently so. The text talks about cyclicide processing, a loop involving the sourcebook content, the mental brain page, and the written Zeid page in the Zeid book. It's positioned as essential practice for achieving, well, perfection.
A loop between reading, thinking, and writing. Okay.
Yeah.
And the last one, the miniature book.
The miniature book. This seems to be more of an organizational tool, a logbook.
For the classroom.
Yes, for the whole collaborative classroom with its 7 miniature schools. It records all the knowledge transfer activities happening.
And it involves specific roles.
It does. Roles like a phase superior and this taxila team of miniatures.
Taxila team. Okay.
Yeah. This team includes a system modulator, a class operator, and subject heads. They seem to run the show within what's called the Classroom Operating System, or CROS.
CROS, like a computer OS.
That's the term used, yeah.
Yeah.
This core team makes the key decisions about the learning process in that classroom.
Wow. Okay. A very structured system. So we have the books, the classroom, the roles, but ultimately it's all aimed at the student's brain, right? What's the model for what happens there?
Right. The text frames learning as brain circuits processing something called SOTM.
So
Stands for space, object, time, instance, module. These elements are processed to form memories, but it stresses this isn't just rote memorization. The goal is deeper insight.
deeper insight, not just reciting facts.
Exactly, and that core idea comes back again. Book-to-brain learning transfer is presented as the essential mechanism for creating these brain page modules in the mind.
Okay. Now, things get even more theoretical with concepts like singularity of knowledge transfer and zeid knowledge. What's that about?
It's definitely a core part of the theory. Singularity of brain learnography is the idea that through intense focus on brain page modulation, a student can get so good, they essentially become a small teacher themselves. They achieve what's called zeid knowledge.
Zeid knowledge. That related to the zeid books?
It seems to be the outcome. The theory proposes that all the different facets of learning, emotional, cognitive, motor, academic, intuitive, they all converge
Converge where?
in the brain's circuitry, and they produce a single, unified behavioral output. That output is Zeid composite knowledge.
Ah, so it's the unified result of all learning.
That's the concept. It's termed the singularity of brain page theory. And this unified knowledge is then reflected in the student's behavior within the school environment.
Interesting. And connecting back to the beginning, this whole process heavily relies on the books created by these father teachers.
Yes, that's a recurring theme. Books are the creative works of father teachers. They represent the structured object knowledge.
So learning from the book is like learning directly from that original teacher.
In object language, yes, that's the idea. It makes the brain page school, as the text calls it, a very direct learning environment, mediated by these specific books.
And the source material even outlines the research areas underpinning this.
It does. It lists themes like comparing direct versus indirect transfer, the specific functions of each book type, the brain page theory itself, even physical aspects of the book. It suggests a fairly comprehensive framework behind this learnography.
Okay, so let's try to sum this up. This deep dive into transfer books has shown us, well, a really distinct educational philosophy.
Definitely distinct. Focus squarely on this book-to-brain knowledge transfer.
Using a highly structured system, the 5 types of brain page books, the miniature schools, the specific roles, all aimed at creating high-performing students.
Through this very particular view of how learning and memory work, building those brain pages and ultimately aiming for that Zeid knowledge.
It certainly gives you something to think about. How does this model stack up against your own learning experiences or what you see in education today.
That's the provocative thought, isn't it? Does this intense structure, this direct book-to-brain idea, offer something valuable? Maybe more efficiency? Or perhaps deeper learning in some ways? Or does it miss something?
Yeah. How does the idea of students becoming active agents through this specific structure resonate? Does it feel empowering or maybe restrictive?
Definitely food for thought, something to mull over as you consider how knowledge is best acquired and understood.